world-famed fisherman
Love
and
me,
world-famed beach bum.
love
Now
me in Paris.
Hello, everybody. To the Play is the Thing. I'm Judy Sleed. I have a beach bum as a guest. I love that title. And you know, Stephen, you do look like a beach bum.
All in white, right?
Do they call you that? Hey, beach bum, come
Well,
over.
I like to walk along the beach and see, take a look at the seashells and what washes up on the beach. And this past winter, a tremendous amount of storms there were, and just balconies and doors and everything were just ripped away from houses which were along the beach on the dunes. And they were strewn all in front of the beach, which is in front of my house, or I'm half a block away from the beach there. And I found a seal there this winter, and that lasted for a few days. I called it into the Riverhead Preservation of Sea Animal Life, and I don't know. I don't think they ever did anything about it. I told them where it was located, the animal, but I checked the next day after I discovered this seal. It was still alive. It was still moving on. The third day I checked it out. It was gone. I mean, it was dead. It was dead. And a couple of days later, it wasn't there anymore. I suppose, you have a tremendous amount of wash by the ocean and the tides there, which takes tremendous number of sands, takes it away from the beach, deposits it on the beach. So the seal got a proper burial in its native habitat,
Great.
So, yeah.
Well, I detect a slight accent when you speak. Where are you from, Steve?
I'm from Holland, a little town called Roermond.
From where?
Roermond, which is on the Maas River. It's on the confluence of two rivers, the Maas and the Ruhr River. It's right in that corner where you have Germany, Belgium, and Luxembourg, above
In
Maastricht.
Europe.
Above
In
Maastricht.
Europe.
Yeah, it's above Maastricht.
And when did you swim over here, or how did you get here?
That wasn't. It was a terrible storm. We were supposed to have gotten here in 9 days. It took us 11 days, and we steamed into New York City with a terrific dent in the bow of the boat. It was a Dutch boat. I think it was the Veendam or something like that. It was really very enjoyable. I mean.
Would you like to share with us what year that was?
That was in 1950.
1950.
Yeah.
So you just decided to take a voyage. You signed up. You bought a ticket, and
Well,
then
not quite like that.
No?
My mother was running a business, a textile business, which was the family textile business, Hichendlich and Zonen, which is my original name. My original name is Sally Hichendlich.
And you became Blum.
I became Blum after my mother got married a second time because my father did not survive Auschwitz. He died in Auschwitz. And my mother was on the run during the Nazi occupation. She worked as a domestic in various Catholic families under assumed names, and she was able to survive that way. And my brother and I were housed in a Catholic home which took very good care of us. It was a very small village, and we lived as two Catholic boys. We had to drop our Jewish identity. I was told that at one point my brother and I were playing rabbi and disciple, in front of the house. And the family told us, stop immediately playing this, because this is very dangerous, because the Nazis were all around the place. And so we had to stop this. It was a bit of a dangerous period during that time.
But then your mother remarried?
Then my mother remarried. Yeah, she remarried Jonas Heinrich Blumenschweig. That's quite a name, that's a mouthful. And most people can't quite pronounce it. So that name became John Henry Blum. And Blum was the assumed name at the time when my father became naturalized. And at that time, my mother asked me, do you also want to be named Blum? I said, yes, it sounds fine. You know, it's a regular family name. And I dropped the name
So
of
you-
Eigenlich, which my cousin incidentally never forgave me. She said she should have kept the old family name of Eigenlich. It's a good name. Should be proud of it. And here I'm assuming,
Yeah.
but I thought, you know, you live with a man who supports you, well, or rather a father who supports you and
Yeah.
who takes care of you.
So
and
you
who
all
likes your
came
mother.
out, your mother and stepfather
And my brother, and
and
my
you-
brother, Bird. And yeah,
that's nice. So what did you do when you came out? You were still a child.
yes, the big first occasion when I came out is we joined a temple. And you know, during the war, most of the Jewish population in Holland pretty well was decimated. Even the temple that was there, pushed away behind some houses on the main street, was almost non-extant, and only a few Jewish families survived there. So we joined a Orthodox temple out in Kew Gardens in Queens, and I became bar mitzvah, and that was quite something, most unusual.
So you must have learned English very quickly.
Yeah, right. I learned it by reading the New York Times and keeping a list of the new vocabulary. That's how I learned English. That's
Well,
how I
that's a good way.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And then you grew up, and what did you do? How much schooling did you have?
We first went to a local school out in Newt, first Kew Gardens, then a local school in Newtown, which is also in Queens, and then Forest Hills High School, which was a very nice school. And after that, I went to Queens College, and then I went to the University of Denver for a postgraduate study of social work. So then I eventually became a social worker in the Department of Social Services. I worked at the Denver Department of Social Services and also out in New York City. Most of the time I worked as a social worker and worked in my father's factory also. Where
Your father had a factory.
Well, my uncle's factory. And my father took care of the production end. And my
What kind of production?
leather stationery. Leather stationery used leather which came from cattle, from pigs, and then eventually, in later years, it was also plastic leather, which looked almost as good as the actual leather, but never felt as good as the actual
Yes.
leather. And I used to help sometimes around gluing albums together and putting nice corners onto the engraved gold leather that the albums were put into.
You mean lettering?
Leather, yes, leather. And the engraving was done straight lines or triangles or squares. Not too lettering could be done too, but it was a
That's a very unique type of business. I didn't hear anybody
did it very well.
else.
He did it well. My uncle
Yes.
started out making belts when he came to this country. I think he became before the war. That was my
Yeah.
my stepfather's brother.
Brother, yes.
And he started making belts, and his first order, or he had many little orders, and then he became established when Macy's ordered a tremendous number of belts, and that's how that gave him some capital, and he was able to expand into the stationery area with the cowhide and the
But you
pigskin.
didn't. You like to be a social worker better than to work in a factory or making
I never saw much of a future in maybe it's because you know well, yes, no, I did not see much. I put away the proper things in the shelving, and I didn't see anything beyond being a clerk putting away the articles that were being produced on the shelves and maybe doing some gluing. It was only a temporary thing when I worked over there, where in between jobs. My father said, "You want to work? Okay, we'll work." He bought good pastrami sandwiches for me for lunch. So
So how long did you hold that job as a social worker?
as a social worker, I think I worked for about a half a year before I joined the Army. I was for half a year in the Army. I went to Fort Dix in New Jersey for basic training. And then they sent me on to Fort Sam Houston, where I became a medical specialist, where I learned to patch up people in the field in case it was needed. I was very fortunate. I went into a military program that was only half a year long. And it was just before the Vietnamese War. And people were still being asked to join the services, whether they wanted to or not. So, and that was generally a 2-year stint in the military service.
Well, I'm just curious. You said you were like a medic. How didn't they have to train you for that?
Yeah.
They trained you very quickly.
3 months.
You didn't have to go to medical school.
No, just
So
no medical
what
school.
did you just give Band-Aids?
Something like that, yeah, Band-Aids, Band-Aids. I still smell the Band-Aids every day. And I learned about venereal disease and how horrific it could be.
Yeah.
So I could warn everybody, watch what you're doing. Yeah. It was worthwhile, just like it was, the soldiering business is worthwhile to learn. But let's hope you never, get actually involved in it from my point of view, because it is a very dangerous business. And I mean, you do see the world perhaps in a certain way. But I remember in Holland, the bombs dropping and having to run into the bomb shelters. We had a deep cellar in the house in which we lived. That was good, but then it became even more dangerous when the bombs started dropping. So we had to build a big hole into the ground and cover it with beams and dirt and stuff, which was much more safe, out in the chicken coop. Huh?
No, you didn't. You didn't build those things yourself.
No, the people with whom I lived, they built it.
Yeah.
They built it. I did. I only remember helping a little bit, digging the trenches for the Canadians that came in 1944 towards 45. And I was in the trenches there, and with a basket of apples, and I gave apples to the Canucks who came in, and they gave me one from their berets, one of those little ribbons which I had, and it was very nice. And
so I'm listening to you. You said you did all those things in Europe, and then you came here. You were helping your uncle in the leather goods, and you were a social worker. How did you become a beach bum?
I don't know. I had a girlfriend. Her name was Peggy, and a friend named Tom. And one day we decided to go out to Montauk, and we walked on the beach, and we had a great time on the beach. And so
this is while you were still working as a social worker?
Yes. As a matter of fact, he had left Argentina, Tommy Kunau, and he was studying there to be a doctor. But because of the Peron fascistic anti-Jewish sentiment there, it wasn't safe for him and his family to stay anymore. So they came over from Argentina to New York, and he never continued with his medical studies. But
so you went for just like that. You came to the Hamptons, and then you decided that that's the place for you.
That's the place for me. I got married in 1960? No, 1968. 1968 I got married. And
your wife liked the beach also?
Yes, we went out to Hither Hill State Park. And that's where we conceived our first child, right there on the campground, in the old camper, which was very nice.
Yeah?
Yeah. I remember it being quite nice, and I also remember scaring the hell out of her. I caught some fish, so I chopped off the head of the fish, and I threw it up in the air, and a gull swooped down and swallowed the whole damn thing, and the whole neck was like a big bump, and she started screaming. She never seen you know, a girl holding a fish in his. Eventually, it went down into its gullet, you know, down its gullet. Anyway, so that's how I started my beach bum career. I suppose by having my children, my first children, at the Hill States Park.
So when you came out here, you were no longer a social worker? You were...
I was still a social worker. I was still, yes, I started. And my ex-wife then, later on my ex-wife, she became also a social worker and eventually became an administrator. She did extremely well. Me, I stayed more or less at the same level, entrance level, which I came in. Which it was interesting work. It was very nice work. I did all kinds.
Did you go out on cases, or people came to you?
I went out on cases at the beginning, and it was the first half year was just an administration of public assistance. People, especially mothers, who were on ADC or aid to dependent children. And I saw many of women who were unattached and who had lots of children because they were good lovers. And, you know, and some of them were charming. I thought they were really good-looking women and very nice. And I made sure that their houses were properly kept, that the money was properly spent, and the children were okay. That was that was for about the first half year. Afterwards, I did all kinds of different works, financial investigations to see that people, if they could contribute money towards the care which provided by the Department of Social Services, so that he would give a monthly stipend or a weekly stipend. And eventually I ended doing that work in the courts. I became quasi a counselor because the Department of Social Services allowed for a social worker to file petitions against parents who were not cooperative in terms of providing support for their children. So I was able to get money from them under greater duress than the voluntary. You have to really take care of your children and make some kind of a financial
payment. So how many
payment.
children do you have?
I have 2 children.
2? Are they living out here?
My daughter lives in Manhattan. My son lives out in Central Valley, and he has 2 daughters, and they're adorable little children. They're 6 and 5, and they're very nice. Every so often I go over to Central Valley and see them. I'm trying to persuade them to come over to Montauk, which they haven't been yet with the children, or my son hasn't been yet with the children over to Montauk.
Wow, everybody flocks out here.
What, everybody?
Flocks out. I
mean,
people have like even a room, the relatives, and everybody's coming out, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful here.
Yeah, he has a very big house with lots of bedrooms and lots of things, which I have only 1 bedroom. I have a very small house. And,
yeah, but it's still a
I can put up a tent in the back for the children, right?
Excuse me?
I can put up a tent in the back for the children. No, not even necessary.
Yeah.
I put up an air mattress in the living room, and it's good for them. Yeah. But I think it would be very good for them to be coming out to Montauk. The beach is a wonderful place to spend a week or 2, you know, for the children.
So have you retired now?
I retired a long time ago. I'm really, that's why the beach bum title might be going good. 1992 I retired. You see, there was a special payout or by the city of New York. If you wanted to leave at age 55, they were able to give you a good retirement. And so I took that option, and so...
you are...
Yeah. So and another 7 years later, I got to receive Social Security. So it was a reasonable amount of income. It's not a very rich income, but it's nevertheless a very nice income. If you have your own house, you own it outright. You don't have to pay any rent, and you can do a little work on your own house. Fix it up.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a nice.
And you didn't get married again?
No, I did not. No,
so you're available.
Maybe. It's quite possible.
And when people will watch, they're going to say, hey, this is a wonderful guy. He's a beach bum, a good catch.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
So you do a lot
I
of...
have a girlfriend coming out from Florida in a couple of days or in a week. She's driving over from Florida. So,
so you have a girlfriend.
yeah, so we can fight a little bit and then go to restaurants and maybe lie around on the beach.
And you do a lot of charity work.
Well, a moderate amount. I work in the winters with the homeless people. At the temple. Yeah, Maureen's Haven.
Yeah, I see you there.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, right. You made peanut butters and jelly sandwiches. I remember, right? And you made them well. You made them very well. And then they put into bags, and the people take them along with other things when they leave. When they leave the place, the Maureen Haven
and
Center.
sometimes you stay and sleep there with them. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, except the snoring of many of the people keeps me.
Keeps you awake.
And of course, I've been accused. You snore. I don't. You're not the only snore. They are not the only snore. You snore. I say I never snore. I don't. I absolutely don't snore. No.
Yeah, you don't hear it.
Oh, is that it? Okay. Yeah. So.
And now you are helping out with the yard sale.
So are you, right? You're also working.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw you last Monday, right? I brought in some cartons from the dump.
Yes, yes.
And I put them together over there for books to be put in. The cartons were used, huh?
Oh yes, we need some more.
Yeah, I need some more.
Yes.
I was today over at the liquor store out in Montauk, picking up some bottles of wine.
That's the best place to get the cartons.
And they're fresh. The cartons are fresh too.
And of course, we're talking about the big yard sale that's going to be taking place at the Jewish Center in East Hampton next Sunday.
Yes.
Next Sunday.
Yeah, I'm supposed to help truck in the things from the not the Virgin, the Most Holy Trinity Church near the Jewish Center.
Yes.
And truck they have given their classrooms, which are empty during the summer, to store the various material for the yard sale. Right?
Yes.
And so my truck, I have a half truck, so that's worthwhile using then too. So we'll start on violating the Sabbath, by bringing.
Are you religious?
I don't consider myself religious, but some people look, you're very religious.
But you yourself are not?
No. But when I came to this country, I learned how to put on phylacteries.
Put on what?
Phylacteries, tefillin.
Oh.
Oh, the little boxes which go on the head and on the arm, which has prayers in it, the Shema.
Yes, and the yarmulke.
And the yarmulke, right.
Yes.
Right. So I used to go regularly to services at the Orthodox synagogue, and one of our neighbors, who was very dati, very Orthodox, he took me as one of his children along, and I remember after the services, he used to always buy fresh Kaiser rolls, and that was a real treat to have Kaiser rolls.
I love fresh Kaiser rolls.
They're very nice.
But there's so many unfresh, so many Kaiser rolls that are really not fresh. It's like very soggy.
Yeah.
And I don't like them. I like it real fresh.
Yeah, you can puff them up in a microwave and they're not too fresh. yeah, that works. That works.
So you also mentioned you like to go out to eat. Where do you go out mostly?
Mostly? My favorite places are Chinese places.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A nice Jewish boy likes Chinese.
Yeah, well, listen, when I was in the Catholic home, I learned how to eat pork. And I saw the slaughter of pigs and how it was properly done. And I saw the making of sausages and everything else that was involved in it. So and we always ate well during the war. Many people in Holland didn't eat so well because we were living in a farm. We had farmland. We produced some of our own food. We had our own chickens. We had produced our own meat and so forth. So that was very worthwhile. We had good hams hanging from the ceiling and good sausages hanging from the ceiling.
You could have become a butcher.
I could have become a butcher. Yeah, my girlfriend's father was a butcher.
Wow.
Yeah. So
where is a good Chinese restaurant?
I did butcher. I butchered a deer once I shot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was good. That was good.
Venetian,
yeah.
So where is a good Chinese restaurant here in the Hamptons?
Oh, well, first of all, the good restaurant, there are many good restaurants. The rock and roll in Montauk is pretty decent, I think. Chinatown, a little further down, going east in Montauk, it is also a pretty good place.
There is a Chinatown.
They have a
in
very good
Montauk?
lobster. They have a very good, yeah. Chinatown, when you think of Chinatown, it's out in Lower Manhattan, right?
Yes.
And I mean, nothing can compete with Chinatown in Lower Manhattan. There's nothing comparable to it from my point of view. No, I don't think even in San Francisco.
How many people know that there is a Chinatown in Montauk?
Well, it's called the restaurant is called Chinatown.
Oh, the restaurant.
The restaurant is. It's not actually a whole bunch of Chinese.
I thought it was a whole bunch of
No. It's
Chinese
no. It's
stores.
just this particular restaurant or takeout place. It doesn't even have tables. It has a counter and stools, and you can sit at.
And they have good food there?
Yeah, their lobster is very nice. The ginger lobster is very good. I enjoy it. But if you really want to go eat a great variety, and lots of it for a minimal amount of price, you go in the shopping center in Riverhead near Walmart. In the corner is tucked away a Chinese place. For $8, you have table after table full of different kinds of Chinese dishes, which are really very good. And you can make yourself sick eating as much food as there is. You have to moderate, otherwise you don't feel well afterwards. And
But then you could run to the ocean and you could...
yeah, you can run to the bathroom too. Yes.
Well, it's been a delight talking to you. We covered a lot of areas. You come from Holland, you said, and then you ended up here in the Hamptons as a beach bum.
Right.
Well, I never had a beach bum on my show.
No. It's always the first time.
Yes, well, it's been really wonderful. I learned a lot about you, although I know you for quite a long time, but I just never knew what you did or anything at all. And that's how I find out about people. I invite them on my show. And they share all the information with me and with the world. So thank you again, Steve.
It's nice being here with you.
P.H. Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're off the air.
Yeah. I have a cousin called Stephanie.
Oh,
Yeah. So I don't know if she was named after me. I don't think so. My name used to be in Holland Seth. Seth. That was changed to Stephen. Crazy stuff. Yeah. Well,
so I'm going to...
that passed very
show you-
quickly.
What?
That half hour went very quickly.
20.